I think this is one of the biggest medical announcements that this office has ever made, because we're talking about price reductions, as you'll see in a couple of minutes, that are incredible. For many years, Americans have paid the highest prices anywhere in the world for prescription drugs. They paid far more, 10 times, 13 times, 15 times more than other countries for the exact same product. A major reason is that the American consumers have been subsidizing research and development costs for the entire planet. They put all of that on us, and yet they were the beneficiaries too. So it's being changed as of today. The United States had just 4% of the world's population and consumers, only 13% of all prescription drugs, yet pharmaceutical companies make 75% of their profits from the United States. So think of that. We have 4% of the market, 13% of prescription drugs, and yet, Albert, I didn't know you were that violent. I'm surprised you're agreeing to this.
Getting better.
No, he's doing the right thing. Thank you. And yet they make 75% of their profits from the American customers. So it's something. That's why I signed an executive order combating this practice, and we signed it very happily a little while ago. Today, Pfizer is committing, as will other drug companies as we go through the weeks. But Pfizer is truly one of the biggest in the world and one of the greatest in the world. Today, Pfizer is committing to offer all of their prescription medications to Medicaid, and it will be at the most favored nation's prices. It's going to have a huge impact on bringing Medicaid costs down like nothing else. I told you that in my first term, I was so proud of the fact that for the first time in 28 years, drug prices came down. And I had a news conference that I explained it was 1/10 of 1%, but it was down. And here we're talking about, in one case, over 1,000%. This is a critical step forward to our work and to improve healthcare, and hardworking, low-income Americans, especially low-income Americans, will be helped so greatly. In addition, Pfizer is agreeing to provide some of their most popular current medications to all consumers at heavily discounted prices of anywhere between 50 and even 100%. And that's off the price. And in some cases, even more than that. These drugs will be available for direct purchase online at a website operated by the federal government. We're also announcing that moving forward, all new medications introduced by Pfizer to the American market will be sold at the reduced most favored nation costs. So we'll be paying essentially what other countries are paying, who have been much lower for many, many years. Furthermore, Pfizer will invest $70 billion to reshore domestic manufacturing facilities. In other words, they're going to bring a lot of their facilities to make their drugs and make what they make, their product. They're going to make it in the United States. I appreciate that $70 billion investment, and fund research and development right here in America. We're working with other major pharmaceutical companies to secure similar agreements. Everyone understands that the status quo where Americans pay more for drugs, prescription drugs, and they pay more than foreign countries who take advantage of us in many other ways, although not so many anymore. I think we've pretty well got that stopped, right? I think so. We've stopped that, but they took advantage of a lot of other precedents, that I can tell you. But we're making this pay to be very unacceptable, what they've done in the past. That's why my administration has also taken historic action to investigate the unfair and discriminatory trade practices of other countries that extort our pharmaceutical makers to shift costs onto the American consumer. They say, no, give us a price, a very low price, and just charge the American consumer, charge it to the U.S. The United States is done subsidizing the healthcare of the rest of the world. It's a big thing. I can't tell you how big this is. And I was all set to go in the first term, but then you had the COVID, and we had to focus on that. But I said, I want to get back here. So because you're talking about 14, 15, 1,600% reductions in some cases. But by taking this bold step, we're ending the era of global price gouging at the expense of American families, and we're making America healthy again, which is our little theme for the people behind me. And I want to just ask Secretary Kennedy to come up, and we'll start, and we'll go through it with Oz and Plump and Borla and McCary, and we'll go through it. And if you have any questions, but this is a really big announcement. This is something that most people said was not doable. And other countries are going along because we told them that if you don't go along, They didn't have to go along. But if they didn't go along, we were going to put extra tariffs on those countries, and we were going to charge them the amount of money that they should be paying for the reduction in costs. So uh, I think we had a pretty good negotiating position.
Good morning. This is Morning Sky. I'm your host, Sky. Now this, I already know. Wizard, salute to you, sir. I think you were the one that brought me, to my subscriber goal. Appreciate that, sir. You were the one that said it, so I'm just gonna give you anything, Oscar saying, well, it's that gray hair, it's that shock of gray hair, and it's really, throwing people off. But if you have anything to promote, you can promote on this show. You could have done that anyway because you have a wrench. But if you want me to make a banner for you, I can make a banner, and we can get it popping. All right. So I already. Yes, thank you. Yeah, anything you want to promote, it's all on you, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. You've been a real one since day one. We've challenged each other. We've argued about stuff. But we come together on, business. So that's good. So I know that there's a huge cat fight in the hip hop sphere. Nicki Minaj against Cardi B. They reignited their feud. She's calling her Cocaine Barbie. She's calling her Barney B. It's a big mess. I know. But I have to do the flip. See, that's what Mr. Troy Star Terrain is going to cover. He's not going to cover the government shutdown. And this ridiculous, horrendous, evil, vicious TrumpRx plan in the deal with Pfizer. Whoo! That is just scary, folks. That's scary. That's frightening to me. Government has nothing to do with medicine. Its only goal, its sole role, is to be a protector. Nikki, I like Nikki. Nikki's in my top 5. I disagree with you there, sir. I like Nikki. But it's creepy. This is creepy stuff. The government should have nothing to do with pharmaceuticals. Should have nothing to do with any industry, really, except to protect their rights and their patents. That's it. That's all. That's all they have to do. But this plan, this thing, this big thing coming out of the office, probably the biggest thing, it's like, it's scary. It's frightening. This is October. This is the month of fear and scary movies and thrillers. None of them can hold a candle to what the government is doing right now. Nothing. They're prepping for a terrible moment in Americans' history. They're not focused on individual rights and the 3 agencies, the courts, the police, the military. That's it. That's all that should be concerned. I know that Hegseth was talking to generals and admirals yesterday, but it's the same old rhetoric: sacrifice, unselfishness, selflessness, completely devoid of any morality. Wizard says, I love her too, but her replies are corny. Get in the booth. Yeah. Okay. I can kind of relate to that. Calling her Barney B, that's like, what? Like, why would you call her Barney B? Where did the Barney come from? I mean, Selena Gomez is on Barney, so that's not even like a whole diss. That's like just, I don't know. That's kind of corny. That is kind of corny. I have to admit that. But I love Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj. I will forever love her song, "Moment for Life." That's my jam forever. Like that just. It just reminds me of so many good times in my life that I wish I could have forever, and it's kind of has a melancholic feel to it. And it has a party feel to it because it's very upbeat. And then Drake is on there. He had one of his best features, I think. He had one of his best roles as a artist featured on her one of her songs. But I digress. I'm not talking about Nicki. I'm not talking about Cardi. I'm not talking about Lotto. I'm not who Ice Spice. I'm not talking about Ice Spice. they're all great and good, but I got to get to this government stuff because this government stuff is real. This is real talk. This is what's going on in our lives. They are just distractions. They are diversions. They're literally diversions to divert our attention away from serious, heavy material, such as what's going on in this United States federal government. Favorite. That's my favorite. It's probably my favorite feature of hers on somebody else's song. Of course, if you have, I hope you've been listening before. I said the horrific. She beheaded everyone on that song. Yeah, she did. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, she made that stuff up. Oh, that was just she was just saying that." But her flow, her different change of tone, her different change of rhyme patterns, really great. But Wizard asks, "How do you feel about Trump plans?" I reiterate right now, they're horrific. They're terrible. They should have nothing to do with pharmaceuticals. They should nothing to do with Pfizer. Pfizer should not have made a deal with the president. That's a fact. That's a fact. That should never have happened. It should never have occurred. And it's scary because we realize that, people say, "Oh, that's great. Oh, yeah, wonderful. We need to have government controlled pharmaceuticals because they're making so many profits and there's more money being made outside for other countries rather than America." Yeah, I think pharmaceuticals can handle it. I think as long as they're protected by the government, and that's the only function that it should ever engage in. That's all I'm saying. That's the main draw behind this whole spiel. Is how vicious and ugly and disturbing all this is. TrumpRx is TrumpRx. Like that just automatically is a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad policy or intrusion in business sphere. It's it's intrusive government. Excuse me. It's intrusive government overstepping its boundaries to make sure that they're going to get their cut no matter what. I get to speaking and everything goes crazy. Excuse me for that. But it just wears on me. Nobody's who's talking other than Dr. Jerome Brook and the Ayn Rand Institute, and sometimes Mr. Troy starts running. He has to do the dumb-ish for his numbers to rise. I have to do the opposite for my numbers to rise because I'm getting. I don't know how he does it. He must mix and master something because I was live during a broadcast and they sent me a copyright issue. And I was like, "What? I'm not even able to trim and cut this. I'm not even able to edit it out yet. At least give me time to edit it out." No, this is third party. You can't use this. Whatever. But yeah, these are very vicious plans. They plan to have cheaper, quote unquote, cheaper pharmaceuticals for American citizens. They plan to have less outreach across the other countries with their focus being on Americans. Let Pfizer do that. Can't Pfizer do that? They're a multi-billion-dollar company. Multi-billion-dollar company, just like Merck and Lilly and Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca and so many others. They're private companies. What the hell does the government have to do with intruding upon ground that they ought not tread? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It makes zero sense. It's not even that it's nonsensical. It's evil. It is literally evil. I always bring up IC. The government should get it out of IC. Ideas, science, economics, and education. And they are very distinct because the end is education and all the science. The ideas, the science, and economics are all included in education. We're educated to believe that the government is supposed to be a nanny, that the government is supposed to be, a caretaker. It's supposed to be a wet nurse. It's supposed to be something that a safety net. It's supposed to be, something that lends us oodles of money or care or or food stamps or whatever the case may be. Not the case, folks. That's not the case. There should be no collusion or involvement of the government in business whatsoever. Not even a little bit. They should protect their rights. That's it. TrumpRx is not protecting rights. Making a deal with Pfizer is not protecting rights. It's doing the opposite. The irony is so profound here. They wish to do good, but they're doing the most harm. Or they may not wish to do. That's giving them too much credit. They wish to, make their ends, stronger, making their place in the earth more fertile, and ability to expand upon their goals. In reality, there should be no government involvement. And Trump is saying, his favorite word is tariffs, the T word. I love the word tariffs, big beautiful tariffs. That's horrific. That's a tax on a whole country and their imports and exports. Because that's the thing too. You say, oh, we're putting tariffs on Japan, we're putting tariffs on China, we're putting tariffs on whatever, West Bumble, you know what. And you get to a point where you're saying, okay, you're taxing them, so they're going to raise their taxes on us. So who wins there? I think Trump wins somehow. Trump's going to make billions of dollars, I think, off of tariffs. That's why I think that's why he loves tariffs so much. He's going to make billions himself. And that's not selfishness. That's not greed. That's graft. That is allegedly, that's graft. Let me say that. Let me say, I'm not trying to get sued on here. That's allegedly graft. It takes so much for us to understand how many people are involved in this. You had the RFK Jr., you got Dr. Ahmed Oz, you got the whole cabinet of various politicians that are for all this. They say, yeah, this is great, this is wonderful, lower the prices of the drugs, that's great. I still don't understand why AstraZeneca can't lower their drugs, why Merck can't lower their drugs, while Johnson Johnson can't lower their drugs. And the deal that they made with Pfizer, why can't they just lower their drugs without the government? I don't hear this that much. They just report the news. They just have the interviews. They just have they're not the interviews, the questions in the press. But nobody's asking that question. Why is government involved in healthcare? Why is it not just protecting individual rights? Who is asking these questions? Why are there not objectivists in the news press and the press conferences asking these questions? I think we need objectivists to definitely to infiltrate, infiltrate these press conferences and ask the bold questions that need to be asked. I can't because I'm too stupid. I don't even have a college degree. I have no clue how I would even infiltrate that place. So TrumpRx is just another exchange. It's almost as bad as Obamacare. It's almost as bad as the Affordable Care Act. Almost. Affordable Care Act is an extremely horrific, terrible, atrocious example of government interfering with business, interfering with private entities. It was one of the worst things that ever come out of government. That's behind President Obama. Terrible stuff. And this TrumpRx is just following down that road. It may not be as wide reaching, it may not be as in the legislature as people would imagine it to be, but it could get there. There could be Trump, Trump care. I think they have already, released different elements of that in the previous years and his previous administration as well. So, this is just disturbing on so many levels. It doesn't have to be. That's one thing. It doesn't have to be. But what do? We go with we're busy with our lives. We're raising kids. We got wives and husbands and daughters and sons, and we're caring for our ailing parents. We're trying to make ends meet. We're trying to get this money. We're trying to get our weight up. We're trying to get all this stuff. Who has time? And then when you're done with all that, all you want to do is see how many shots Nikki can throw at Cardi. You're not feeling okay, Trump. Okay, great. Well, he wants to do it. This is very important stuff, but we're like, on my mind, so many. I had to do too many things that I had to work. I had to take care of the kids. I had to make sure they got fed. I had to make sure my parents were all right. I had to make sure my cousin was cool. I had to make sure everybody was all right. They're going to school. I had to make sure I checked on my kids' homework. I got to make sure I got these bills to pay. Who wants to come home to me and my dumb ass? But I have to do it because you're gonna want it soon. I'm breaking it down to you so you can understand what I'm saying. Because I would want to come to my dumb ass only because I'm saying things that aren't being said in virtually any forum and with the same capacity that others have exhibited throughout the years, really. There's a distinct difference between the different presidencies. I mean, we've had a trail of just horrible or mediocre presidents, and I thought President Obama was the worst president of all time. I think Trump is the worst president of all time now. It kind of just got diluted. Biden's in the middle as like a mediocre nothing. He really didn't do much. He didn't do much good anyway in the way of governance. He wasn't all there anyway. He wasn't there. There wasn't much there. So that has to be explained. But TrumpRx, I mean, that is just I don't understand. We have to fight. That's why we're on YouTube. That's why we have Nico and Dr. Ankar Gate and Dr. Jerome Brook and Dr. Samieri and Tara Smith and so many others. There's so many others. I'm missing out on a lot of others, but those are these voices that are fighting this war. Mr. Choice Terrain, in between his moments of just BS that he does, because that's what the money is. He's a very wise guy. He's a very thoughtful and intellectual individual. He has to go for the dumbish because that's where the money is. That's where the money is. But then he'll slip in a few ideas about the idea. I don't even know how to respond to that. Wizard says Obama make Trump look like Jesus. Whenever people make those distinctions, like they say, like he says Brian Gumbel makes Wayne Brady makes Brian Gumbel look like Malcolm X. So I'm starting to figure out what you're saying. So you're downing on President Obama, President Trump is, just different. I always say President Obama is a dumpster and Trump is a dumpster fire. That was hilarious. Yeah, that's classic. You're in my era. You're in my Dave Chappelle era. I saw when it first. I mean, that's what's so weird about our viewing habits now. I'm gonna take a little detour right now, but that was weird. Like I remember saying like I don't know what day it came on, but like just say it came on Thursdays at 9 or whatever it was. I was parked in front of my TV Thursday night, 9 o'clock, or whatever the case might have been. I don't know, maybe it was on Tuesdays. I just remember Chappelle show. Oh, Chappelle. Woo! Yeah, so now you just stream. You watch live TV on YouTube TV. There's some appointments like mainly sports. That's what I've made appointments for are sports. But for regular television program, comedies and dramas, it's totally just stream it. You just stream them. It's a weird thing. And same thing with music videos. I don't know when people make music videos. I don't know about new music. I used to get new music. I would have never heard of the Pack. I would have never heard of a lot of West Coast. E40. I started to understand when he was. Yes, Dave Chappelle was a legendary show. Very great show. Very well written. Very well acted. Execution was on point. The funny. He brought the funny. I remember just laughing my tail off. Just laughing, like just funny stuff. Excellent show. Excellent show. And that's the thing too, because it only had 2.5 seasons really. But they were really strong. The first 2 seasons were really strong. So that has to be discussed. But we straight. I'm gonna get back onto the main road. TrumpRx. TrumpRx is just, I'm telling you, it is abominable. Why? MTV Jams, you grow up? Yes, MTV Jams. They have BET Jams now. I haven't got that channel, but I'm gonna try to see if I can get that channel, BET Jams. Yeah, MTV Jams is the truth. I didn't know about Lil Flip and David Banner listening to Philly radio stations. You don't get that. You got Beanie Siegel, Freeway, Jay-Z, of course. You got all different people like that. But I didn't know about Scarface and the Ghetto Boys. And it was cool about MTV Jams because they would take you back. They would take you back in time. They would go back to the 80s. And I'd be like, who are these, that like these kids are probably doing now, which makes me feel real ancient. Like 20 years ago, that's what would happen with MTV Jams. They used to have like stuff from 10, 20 years ago. And you'd be like, I never even heard of it. What is JJ Fast Supersonic? I heard of LL Cool J, but I thought he was an actor. Oh, he's a rapper? Okay, great. Okay. Wizard's asking me to explain TrumpRx and what it means for the American people, if you can. I don't think I can, but I'm going to do the best I can. For me, TrumpRx means overstepping government boundaries. It means being totally close to a fascist state of governance, and fascism means, private companies are able to utilize the system of capitalism all they want, but they're controlled heavily through regulations. That makes it very difficult for them to express their ideas and get patents and get trademarks on their drugs and get their drugs passed by the FDA and things of that nature. So that's why I understand TrumpRx to me. He's going to explain it as saying, I'm going to give lower cost drugs to the American people. He's going to put it in those terms. That's as best as I can explain it. He wants from Trump's perspective, he's trying to give a half-hearted way of saying that American people will get cheaper drugs and better access to those drugs over the coming years. Yeah, Wiz is right. MTV Jams gave us history and current. It was the I don't know. It just I don't know if you remember the box. Do you remember the box, Wizard? Are you old enough for the box? The box was crazy. The box you could listen, you could call in and say, yeah, I want to play Mystical's Shake It Fast on the show, and then you'll see your little call number, and it'll go on the screen, and then the video will play. Like I just remember that. That was cool. That was fun. Yeah, you don't do that anymore. There's no box. And I remember when MTV played videos. I remember when they had their shows. They had Direct Effect. They had Mr. Choice Star Terrain. He was in the Beat Suite. Okay, the box is before your time. Okay, yeah. You gotta look up the box. Look up the box. But I remember the Beat Suite, Direct Effect, Total Request Live, TRL. What else did they had? They had I think they had Headbangers Ball for people that were into heavy metal and stuff like that. Oh, you're born in '94. Okay, that's cool. Okay. Are you 30 or 31? Did you already have your birthday? Are you 30 or 31? Oh, now he's giving links. Good God Almighty. Oh, this is. I gotta look into that. Okay, thank you for sending me this. I appreciate. I have to watch that whole video. Okay, you're still 30, so your birthday's coming up. Start up playing games on his sick bed. Yeah, he's still the bull. He's still the bull. He's still a bull. I can't stress it enough, folks. We have to realize this. Government has nothing or ought to have nothing to do with healthcare, education, anything, anything except protecting individual rights through your warriors, your judges, and your police. That's it. That's all. I would love to pay taxes again. I haven't paid taxes since 2016. I would love to pay taxes again if I could choose which taxes I want to have until the day that the other entities are completely and utterly dissolved. Okay, so I'm gonna finish on that note. I'm gonna see if I can look up this let's see if I can look up this particular individual. Okay, this isn't helpful. This is not fun. It's not fun when you can't find it. Okay, hold on. Okay, here we go. Here we can do this. We can do this. Forgot that was playing. Oh, this is such a pain. I swear this is. Okay, let me see what. I don't know who will fund it if the government isn't involved. Who will fund schools? We're gonna get there. Look at here. Private schools. Just like, why don't we say who will fund our private our smartphones? Who will fund our cars? Who will fund our houses? I know there are government phones and there's government cars and there's government houses. I understand that, but there shouldn't be. There should only be private. But we don't we don't look to say, what is that? what are we going to do for our private schools every year? They're going to unveil new ways of learning, like Apple does every Sunday, every September with their iPhones. We should be excited and clamoring to see, oh, what are the new lesson plans that are going to come down for the private school sector. That's what we have to think about. It's like, I don't blame you, Wizard. I had the same mindset too. What about the schools? Well, there's no funding on the schools, government wise. Everything privatized, and everything's going to be different. Like, you're going to have Toyota Corolla schools, and you're going to have Bentley Azuri schools. You're going to have Bentley Azuri schools. You're going to have Nissan Maxima schools, and you're going to have Rolls Royce Wraith schools. They're going to be different, and depending on however you do, it's still going to be dependent upon the schooling system in itself. Got 4 people up in here. Y'all want what? I'm not talking about Nikki. I'm not talking about Cardi. I'm not talking about Lotto. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about Ice Spice. So bear with me. I'm talking about right now, I'm acknowledging Spic Heritage Month. Salute to all the Spics. I appreciate you. I had a half a Spic broad. You know, she was one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. She has a heart of platinum and diamonds, not just a heart of gold. But she showed me the way. She showed me the way to the Marine Corps. So I always have to respect her. But this is my acknowledgement of the Spic culture. Hold on, let me make sure I get this right. I'm just making sure I have everything lined up. I don't have somebody that controls a board or anything. It's just me. It's just me. I don't have a co-host. I don't have guests. I don't have callers. I just built this from the ground up, from the strength of from the strength of my viewers and Mr. Choice Star Terrain. All right, so hopefully this will go.
Y quiero repetir una vez más que la detención del señor Suárez no es un acto accidental ni fortuito, sino que es parte de una decisión política y de un programa decidido de lucha contra el narcotráfico.
Muy bien, vamos. Toda la posición, listo, nada más, se queda ahí.
Lo responsable sería de parte de nuestro gobierno es que inmediatamente elabore un plan de acción mancomunado, tomen sentido a lo que les digo, un plan de acción para que vaya directamente en la lucha al narcotráfico, que significa exportar, y el más dañino a nuestra sociedad, que es el narcotráfico interno, ¿no? Y mucho menos cuando se inicia un plan de represión, la droga cae al mínimo precio al alcance de los niños, de los jóvenes y de los proletarios, que es la clase que se nos está dañando en nuestro país. Bueno, mire, que yo sepa, yo no tenía ningún contrato.
Okay, that was a report in total Spanish. I saw it with you. I didn't see it ahead of time. Excuse me. I didn't see it ahead of time. I saw it right with you. Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Rick James, Mr. Rick James. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. The man who brought you New York Times best-selling book, Ruler of the Air, and now bringing the latest in black news is Scholar Saul. Thank you, Rick James. I appreciate it, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah, but that was the Spick who inspired the character Alejandro Alex Sosa in the film Scarface. He was known as the King of Cocaine. He had trafficked in Bolivia. He was a drug lord, supplying the Medellin cartel, and made close to $400 million a year. Okay, that's not true, Rick James. Now you're saying random stuff. But his name was Roberto Suarez Gomez. He was a spick that was running drug money. He went to jail for a stint. He went for jail for 57 in prison for 15 years. After being released, he had a heart attack and died on July 20th, 2000. So I'm just paying, tribute to all the spicks that supplied this country and other countries with the cocaina, the white stuff, the white girl, the snow, the sugar.
My friends, this is
So this is in response to Spick Heritage Month. All the Spicks in the world, we appreciate you. Niggers, if you can get your lives together. Kikes, the same thing. I think they pretty much got their lives together. It's the niggers. I don't know. Just a whole continent on Africa. They still can't get it together. I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the hell is going on with them. But if that is the is that the way they want to go, if that's what they want to do, that's on them. But I'm just giving them their diligence, giving them their ideal as part of this. Yes, of course, it has to be in Spanish because that's how that's the language they speak, and they're really sneaky. They're like most other people who know other languages. They know when to say, the words and everything, and they know when to go into English. That's the way that they get down. I mean, it's like they have a whole host of words they can use, and they choose to use Spanish words. I call it Spicanese. The way they discuss themselves. So this guy though, what was his name? Suarez. Let me just make sure his name. Yeah, Roberto Suarez Gomez. That's how they get down, and that's the sad part too. He should have been a multi-billionaire if drugs were legal. If drugs were fully legal, he'd probably be alive today. Maybe not. Maybe has something to do with his diet. I don't know. Had too many chimichangas or something. Had too many tacos. But I mean, the way that the different people view the spick culture, they they interpret things in a different way. There's Nuyorican, there's Spanglish, there's all kinds of different iterations of Spanish. But do not call people in this country Spanish. The people in this country are Hispanic or Latino. They're Latino. The Spic Heritage Month really reflects that, I think. Because people from Spain are Spanish. People from other parts of the globe are Hispanic. And I guess Portuguese people are Hispanic too. I would imagine. Maybe not, because they don't speak. I think Hispanic literally means those who speak Spanish. They speak Portuguese in Brazil and in Portugal and Brazil and other places. So I'm just giving my just due to the architects of the drug processing unit. I would say, as far as Spics go, I mean they have their own way of extending themselves. Send them all back. Son 90, I see you, sir. Salute. He says send them all back. Send all whom back? Send all, are you talking about registered American citizens? Are you talking about legal immigrants, illegal immigrants? You're saying send all whom back? And to where? Make America black and white again. America was never black and white, ever. There was always red, brown, yellow, and white and black people at all times, like from the 1400s and even into before then. Because you have to remember, these people had to evolve over thousands of years. They went to the barrier. There's a landmass. There's a landmass that crossed over from other places in the world, and they came over here, and for centuries they lost their features and gained new features, facial features, hair texture, complexion. And it's been like that for centuries, probably for millennia. That was cute though, Son 90. Make America black and white again. Mabawa. Mabawa. Mabwa. Or is it and white again? You can say A and D. Mabawa. What? Mabawa. Mabawa. So for the Spics, it's amazing month. September 15th to October 15th. I don't know why it goes on the 15th. I don't know why it's not a whole month. Maybe it's because this coincides, I think next month is Indian month. Ooh, So it's all about the drug traffickers. Everything I've done has all been about drug traffickers. There's plenty of drug traffickers. They're drug lords, not even like the foot soldiers. There's millions of foot soldiers. It's probably a couple thousand, maybe a few hundred, maybe a few dozen actual drug lords. And we don't really talk about them too much. They don't want to talk about the Spics. Don't want to talk about. I don't know about that. I don't know if I can really get to that. I'm not sure if I can say anything about that. It's a little iffy. But the case is still what the case is. It's a lot of trouble, and I'm for Spix, even though they might like, oh, I'm for them. I think they should that the I think that the governments should allow scheduled drugs to be legalized completely without regard for anyone else's ideas. I've said this before. Put a rehab center on every corner. Because that's the thing. That's what Christianity does. That's what messes people's head up. You're a wretch. You're low. You're nothing. You're totally dirt. You're filth. You're ugliness. You need somebody to save you from yourself. But before that, make sure you get drunk as hell and dump out and get high as you can. Depending on whatever you do. That's the scary part. Is that people don't realize that. People don't realize the fact that they're actual human beings with self-esteem. That's what I think it is. It's like cocaine is a substitute for self-esteem. It may give you a rush. It may give you a high. You maybe feel like you're on top of the world. You're on everything. Everything's going good. Then when you come down, it's like, whoa, what's going on? You may not be depressed, but after a decade or more, you can be sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's on everything. That's from alcohol to heroin to all kind methadone, all of that. So for the niggers and the chinks and the gooks and the kikes, I mean, we just have to understand that better. Because I think we're all human beings. And just to express these words is enough to say that we all have our foibles, we all have our different distinctions that are among us. And it just happens to be the Spix this month of September 15th to October 15th. We have the capacity to say that there are different people and different ways of celebrating the culture, but you can't knock out the fact that all these people from different parts of this Latino diaspora were drug runners, were dealers, were lords, were kingpins. Despite all that, I've already talked about the shutdown. I didn't really get into it. I might talk about it in depth tomorrow. Rick James says, "Sir, how do you feel about the government shutdown?" I was talking about TrumpRx and how sorrowful it is and ugly and bitter it is, and how he's lined up with Pfizer. I just don't understand it, because I thought the government that was supposed to protect my individual rights, not to make sure I had the right pill or not. But I digress. It's all about the Spix. The niggers can fall in line all they want. They can get together and produce and do whatever they want with their little music stuff, whatever. And Spix can do their little, cha-cha and get their taquitos and burritos, and let that be their mission. I just think that Spix are very, it's just the thing too. They'd be like, well, we're astronauts, well, we're scientists, well, we're, not trying to deny that. Of course you are. And you should be, that's something to be proud of. Because that's earned. That's achieved. That's an achievement. That's not just saying, anything like that. But you have to remember that plenty of drug dealers, Hispanic, that's where it all comes. That's where it all comes from. Niggas is cute. Niggas, oh yeah, I was running the block, I made like $200,000 in the streets, I'm good. These niggas is making $400 million a year. These spics making $400 a year. That's what was so amazing. So we have to really realize just the fact that, you know, people like Roberto Suarez Gomez are, you know, part of that spic history. You can't knock out the history. You can't knock it out. You can cover it up with pretty dresses and little empanadas and all this stuff and talking Spanish, and that's cute. But you had people like Pablo Escobar. You had, you know, I'm talking about El Chapo probably in the end. And of course, Roberto Suarez Gomez, the Lord of the Skies. You have multiple people, multiple moving keys of cocaine, and that's the thing. Why are they moving keys of cocaine? Because people want it. It's a high demand, and they have the supply. They have the coca groves, if that's proper. Is it coca orchards? I don't know. Coca grows. They have the capacity to make the various stages of how cocaine is produced, and then they can make it wholesale and sell it to, you know, places in the United States where there's a high demand. And like I said before on many occasions, you know, there's cocaine is cocaine again. Coke is coke again. All over again from the 70s and 80s, the late 70s, the early 80s, when Coke was Coke, when it wasn't stepped on, when it didn't have all these additives and crazy stuff in it. This is a new era of cocaine. It's another era of whether we see cocaine increase. I'm not sure if the price has increased, but I know the quality has increased. So that's the thing. People come home from wars. They find themselves in a bottle. They find themselves with cocaine. They find themselves with heroin. They find themselves with meth. They find themselves with fentanyl. It's like, it's not the freaking drug. It's the people. It's the human mind. It's whether you say, I'd get really high off of this right now. It's going to feel great. It's going to feel good to me. It's going to be wonderful. However, I don't want to ruin the next few years of my life based on this one drug that could have control over me. It's about personal responsibility. That's what it is. Let there not be drug cartels, but let there be, you know, a changeover of the different patterns of drug usage. But it should be produced, and then we'll see what goes, you know, once people get aware and get educated about drugs. And I'm talking about scheduled narcotics. That's when it should be different. So for niggers, that was cute, but mainly spics. It's all about the spics. The spics have it today. That's what gives them their power. The fact that they have this history. Hell, they make music. They have TV shows, narco novellas. There's narco music. What are they called? Karachi bands. If I said that, is it Karachi? I can't remember. But they have bands that play, you know, Spanish songs that are dedicated to narcos. You can't deny this stuff. Can't deny it. It's what it is. So I'd like to thank everybody that came in today. Wizard, Rick James, and Son of the Sun 90. And I will see you all sometime tomorrow in the morning. Take care.